Hello and welcome to this episode of Gin and Tonic Tavern Talks. Today we're going to talk about probably my all-time failure as at a homebrew item and as a dungeon master. I broke the cardinal rule. I tried to force a scene.
Naughty.
It backfired spectacularly. But a little bit of setup. I have this group, and they're playing in a realm where I told them they could not be wizards. You had to, the humans and the wizards were together, and then pretty much everything else was on the other side. They had the choice of either side. They chose to be with the mixed group of everything. Well, they started engaging with these humans violently, and they discovered that these wizards had these medallions. And one of the players put it on, and it granted him a level of wizard.
Oh.
Now, I talked to this player privately afterwards, and I'm like, listen, I want you to play along with this and just kind of be subtle about it, but also drop hints. I just want to create the scene where someone asks you what's going on. That's all.
Okay.
It's like, oh yeah, this shouldn't be a problem. 2-3 months, tops. A year later, and in this year, he went from like, occasionally he'd cast Catapult in front of the party, to casting Fly, Mirror Image, Enlarge, Reduce, Greater Invisibility. He has a wizard apprentice.
Wow.
Who calls herself his apprentice. And they were just like, one of the other players has a bunch of medallions because they kind of had a handful of them and he wanted them early on. The problem is that I had set these up anticipating that this would trigger very early on.
Yeah.
It did not. And the player and I had several discussions on how to slow this down, because in character he would just keep adding them to them, because every time you put them together, they molded together and you got another level.
Oh, that's so cool.
It spiraled out of control very quickly, and a couple of them we just gave him extra spells or a few extra spell slots, like, because we were trying to slow this down going, what do we have to do to trigger this conversation? And what I didn't realize was on the other side, the two players who didn't know what was going on were waiting for that player to just tell them what was happening, assuming that I had done some wonky homebrew thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when it finally did come to light, it made, at that point, the party was level 6 through chapter leveling. One party member had 4 additional levels of wizard, and the other one had 8.
Ooh.
You see how this causes a problem?
It's just a little.
So I've recently had to rebalance them. And I don't think any of my players listen to this podcast, so it won't super duper matter. What they don't realize is there is a finite number of these medallions, and that there's a proper way that they're crafted that takes weeks, and then upgrading them from a first level to a second level is another process that takes weeks. And they're just grabbing these things and slapping them together using the backdoor option.
Yeah.
That sounds dirty. Where they're just slapping them together, and it doesn't give the full value. But now the new way I've set it up is that one medallion will grant you first level, but then to get level 2, you need 2 more. Level 3, you need 3 more.
Okay,
4
yeah,
more,
that makes
5
sense.
So it changes the level 4 is now a she's 2 1/3, and the level 8 goes to being he's a 3 2/4. and I took away the hit points that it grants.
That
So
seems
you still
fair.
gain all the benefits of that level of wizard, but you don't gain the hit points. That kind of balances that out. Because the way the magic in that world works is that the humans all wear different medallions.
Mm-hmm.
What a large portion of their populace don't know is that some of those medallions absorb their energy and transfer it into these giant containment fields. There's 4 of them.
Okay.
And then the wizards use a different set of medallions to draw from that pool to channel their magic.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a finite number of these medallions in existence.
Right.
So the party's presently holding like 20 medallions out of less than 1,000. So when the party gets to a point where they start smashing these energy reserves, because they've seen them, they know what they look like. They're just waiting till they're a little bit stronger. They're worried that they're not strong enough to charge in. And you know what? That's smart. It's in a pretty heavily secured location.
Mm-hmm.
But when they start blowing these up, what they don't realize is that it's going to trigger an event where all of the wizards are going to lose 2 levels.
Oh. I
Every time that
see.
they hit one of these things, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Now the power supply isn't so strong. Now stealing another wizard's medallion becomes valuable.
Mm-hmm.
So if they end up going that route, they can destabilize their enemy that way.
Yeah.
But I attempted to force a roleplay scene that I was hoping would happen. And because I tried to force it without really easing it in or without having a hand in it myself,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have an NPC to kind of coax these things along. And maybe I should have.
It might have gone quicker.
It might have gone quicker and not caused the problem that it did. Because I am notoriously bad for creating magical items that are way, way too powerful. Power isn't the problem, as long as you can balance your party. And you don't want people getting too far ahead of the others.
Right.
So I guess the moral of the story is don't try and force your players into a roleplay moment that they probably aren't going to enjoy, or probably aren't going to, not that they're not going to enjoy. It's that if they don't know what you're trying to do, they're not going to be able to do it. They're not mind readers. But that's probably my greatest failure as a homebrewer. So don't be afraid to screw up, guys, because we all do it.
It happens.
And until then, homebrew with lightning.